So welcome everyone to this free Zoom on this incredible topic of speeding into possibilities, a conversation where we're inviting you to the energy of the nine trannies. And I am so grateful. We have amazing people from all around the world inviting you and us in their languages to this possibility. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sylvia Puentes. I'm a certified facilitator of Access Consciousness now for about 14 years, which is wild. I first discovered the Access Consciousness tools back in 2010. And one of the things that was different for me, perhaps than many, it's that I discovered them, but not because I was looking to fix something in my life, or I didn't even know what wasn't working. But my very first class live with Gary Douglas, the founder, and Dr. Dane here, both of those classes invited me, or almost like reminded me of something that I always knew, and invited me to have more of me. And throughout the 14 years, that has been the energy. That has been the invitation. So, in 2018, Gary Douglas, as I was asking him a question, we were out to lunch with a couple of people in Washington, D.C., I think it was. He turned to me and said, "You can facilitate the 9 trannies." And up until that date, it had only been a live class that he and Dane had facilitated. Recently, they did an incredible class here in Houston with Simone, also, all 3 of them on stage facilitating the 9 trannies. That class is also in the shop. If you are ever interested in purchasing that one, that recording is available. So when Gary turned to me in 2018 and said you could facilitate the 9 trannies, then he kind of gave me a little scope of, how many calls and 1 call per tranny. I very gently looked at him and said, okay, and then turned away going, what? I had no idea where to start, what it was about, and really actually doubted that I could or that I knew anything. So it took me about 8 months until Simone's all, "Sylvia, just go." It's like, where are you waiting for that manual and all the description of the class to guide you? Just go. And that's part of the invitation of this Speedy Gonzalez and the play of this, of speeding into possibilities. It's like, go. It's like, go. And I think they ended up sharing a video that I sent to the team this morning where I was giving a little about this energy of playing with Speedy Gonzalez. If you haven't heard of Speedy Gonzalez, he's this icon, I guess, of a lot of, Mexico. And it's, he goes around going, "Ándale, ándale, ándale," which means hurry, hurry, let's go, let's go. But always this energy of like, hey, we can go faster and quicker. And I thought to myself just this morning, I thought, wow, like as humanoids, what speed and space do we have available that we are not choosing and acknowledging and claiming because we're looking to go at the pace and speed of everybody else we see around us? And I thought, wow, oftentimes when you have this speed, you often judge yourself because, you may actually be aware of other people judging themselves because you're going either too quick, too fast, or you don't make sense. And years ago, I remember when I first saw Dane on stage, he was doing an evening intro that I went to. And I was so grateful for the man then and still grateful now because he was willing to go wherever he needed to go. And it didn't make sense. Like he wasn't going A, B, C, D at all. And if you know Dr. Dane, he has this incredible capacity, just has an incredible capacity. And I remember when he took a break, I was very grateful when I said, and I approached him, I said, "Thank you so much. I didn't know it was okay." Because he was off the charts, went around everywhere, and was willing to claim that he had ADHD, autism, and all these other labels all rolled into one, and didn't find the need to apologize for that. And I just remember going, thank you for that. So that was a beautiful invitation. And then a couple years ago, or maybe 1 year, time is a bit interesting, but at a class that we had during the pandemic at Gary Douglas, the founder of Access's house, he walked by, and there's this term that we use when we say wedgie and walk, where you kind of say something and you walk away and it just leaves the person kind of going, what was that? And it festers for quite some time until you're willing to ask a question. And what he had said as he walked by was, go faster. And I was like, go faster? Like, what do you mean? And he left. And so I was left to kind of just be with that and what that meant for me, my life, and what that was related to. So I started to begin to question it or play with it in my world. And then when I saw him next, I said, oh, with that comment you made, did you mean this? Or, and he's like, sit with it a little longer. So he didn't give me any information and just asked for me to be with that. Second time after I saw him, and I asked him again, and finally with more of a space of actually a true question. And he said, when you're willing to go fast, there is no room for doubt. Again, when you're willing to go fast, there's no room for doubt. So how many of us actually doubt the space, our knowing, our being, our perceiving, our receiving, like our existence even? Like we have so much doubt that actually keeps us from being the magic, the speed, the creation, the play, the exuberance we truly be. So for me, that's an invitation of the 9 trannies. There's 9 trannies, and maybe someone will post them here if you're not familiar with them, but they're 9 capacities that we be. 9 capacities that we be that will allow you to have the speed and the ease to create and have what you're asking for. And, I think this might be, and maybe someone on my team can correct me, the 9th series that we're about to launch in February. There's a special early registration price right now. So we wanted to make sure that the whole entire world knew about that if they know they're joining us. But this space of, wow, if you had no doubt of you and what it is that you know that may not make sense to anyone, what would you be choosing? What would you allow to change? What would you allow yourself to create? And for those of you that may not be familiar with the Access Consciousness tools, we have this incredible tool that's called the clearing statement. And maybe someone can also put that in the chat so people have that. Theclearingstatement.com is the place you can go on the website to kind of get more in depth of what that means. But for me, it's kind of this magic wand to change energetically of whatever you may have stuck there. And for me, talk about speed of change. How many of you are asking to change something in your life that doesn't seem to be changing? And what if there is a quicker, faster way? Or have you bought in to the point of view that it requires time? It requires you to explore. It requires you to dive in deep to figure out where it started and what it was. And so for me, it is, wow, what could we invite with these 9 trannies to then create and move throughout the world in a much quicker speed? And this is when you're willing to acknowledge what is your reality. What is the reality that you know is possible that you haven't been willing to actualize because it doesn't match anybody else's? There is one story, if you guys know of Mexico City, one of the biggest cities in the world. Years ago, I remember going there, and the lady that was driving me to my hotel, she goes, I am so sorry, Sylvia, there is so much traffic, and I'm going to have to take you through one of the busiest areas, but that's where the directions were taking her. I'm all, okay, that's fine. So we ended up in one of the busiest areas. And I remember I was looking at the sky, just the beautiful day and the big buildings and that reflection of the clouds and the lighting. and what I was finding so beautiful. And then I looked to the road in front of us and I was like, there's not a single car. And I'm all like, there's not a single car. I actually took a picture because I was like, and then that space of like, oh, what if there are energies that you can be and tap into that actually allow for the universe to open up for things to show up with way more ease. Now, it almost sounds like something unreal, and that's true. It is. I think it might have been our last series that had the energy of like the willingness to be unreal. And this is where we get to explore in these 10 calls on the series of 9 Trannies, everything that's been seeming unreal to you, unfathomable, that you know is possible and true. And begin to use those capacities to your advantage. So would you be willing to use these capacities to your advantage? I mean, imagine having an advantage over everyone that you know. Would that be unfair? Some would say. And I would say, what could you then create and be out in the world and invite others to acknowledge by being all of what you be? So this year's tagline is the space of nothing, no thing, and all you be. And in that space of no thing and what you be, it really is this space of what if, it's like, let me kind of back up a little. So we have access consciousness classes all around the world. And every class is opening up a new space. Every time there's a lot of facilitators on here that are either facilitating different classes. You're choosing what you're choosing in your life. And what you're choosing in your life, it's all creating and opening up a new space. So one of the new spaces that I'm perceiving that invited me to acknowledge here for this 9 Trannies series is that when you are willing to be that space that opens up, it feels like nothing. And oftentimes when there's that space of nothing, like you're like, we think something's wrong. Because this reality has worked so hard on making things solid to define them as real. So the gift of facilitating 9 Trannies is that it ongoingly invites me to notice those areas in my life, to notice the energies that show up that seem so solid, and then begin to ask questions and invite something different to allow that space to open, because it is in that open space that you have all of you available. It is in that space of no thing, nothing defined, is where you have the capacity of 9 Trannies available. So in short, that is the energy that I would love to play with in this 9 Trannies series. It's like that willingness to go fast into possibilities, you know, to willingness to let go of the doubt that you've been using to make yourself real, the willingness to begin to acknowledge and claim perhaps what you've always known and where these capacities are already showing up in your life. They're and this is where, you know, we do have a prereq for this class, and it is the foundation. Anytime, if you have taken an Access Consciousness Foundation class, then I get that we're willing to have these conversations that go beyond many of the points of views that makes us real in, you know, and so we get to explore that. And in that, I'm curious of what had you guys join this series. Was it the fun graphic? Then we'll give credit to Michelle. What was it that invited you to join? Like, what questions do you have? What do you know? What curiosities do you have? And maybe you've heard of 9 Trannies and never really had a true clarity of what it is. And, you know, I'm not looking to give you a definition, but I know that there is an energy available that if you're here I just hear someone said they're intrigued about nine trannies. There is something that you know. If this pulled you, there is something you know. So one of the questions I love to always ask is, that, if I choose this, what will my life be like in 5, 10 years? And I get that we are in a time in our life and on the planet where it is a time to acknowledge and play way more with what we have available. But you have to be willing to be unreal, unfathomable, different, and undefined. So everywhere you are using definition of you, who you are, what you are, where you are, will you destroy and then create all of that times a godzillion? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povats, and beyonds. Yeah. And, there's many stories that people have shared of the change that's shown up from attending these classes, this series. And I spoke to a couple ladies in Rome while I was there a couple weeks ago. And it was so great to hear the change that has shown up for them and that space of acknowledging what they've always known is true. And one thing I would say from both of those ladies is that there was a level of joy and presence and adventure in living. And that may be a side effect. So if I had to put a warning out, is you may have more joy and more adventure in living. And so if you're not looking for that, you can get off now. And I love it. Someone in the chat says, I couldn't figure out what nine trannies are. Yeah, it's not the transvestites. We often joke about that. But nine trannies are 9 capacities that you be. You be them. And when you can acknowledge and claim that you be that, you have them available to use. One of the first trannies, as you read the different lists, there may be one where you're like, oh yeah, that one that seems so obvious for you that you probably have played with and seen show up. And for me was translocation. This, even before I knew of the 9 trannies, there was always moments where I would get from one place to another almost as a blink of an eye, or I would get to one place quicker than seemed logical for people. They're like, you're already here? Like, how is that possible? And yes, I do like to speed, so maybe that was part of it. No, but there was this movement through space where time seemed to be different. So translocation is the ability to move something from one place to another without physical force, such as without using your hands. So moving through that space. I'm just looking at the list of all the ones that it's so moving things, but if you're moving yourself, that transmigration. So the ability to move you from one place to another without a car, plane, train, or bus. So you migrate through space. So as I started to explore that, there's moments, yes, I'm still buying my flights. What would it take? I definitely schedule my week and my days as if transmigration was real. What do you mean I can't finish the Zoom and jump into my appointment, right? So it's kind of an ongoing joke for me that, yeah, it would be amazing to just poof and go. But that's the level of play and adventure of going, wow, I know that it's available. How and when it will show up, I may not be able to say, but I know there are moments in my movement through the world. I'm off to Mexico this afternoon. I have just gotten back from Brazil. It's like there is an ease in this, and I'm so grateful because my body is a big part of that contribution of moving at a speed that has ease. But I also realize that I've let go of certain points of views and definitions. One is that time is real. 2 is jet lag is an invention. And 3 is, that really is, there's this sense of time. Like, notice when you guys travel, how many of you arrive and you're thinking of where you were. Oh my God, it's 3 in the morning and it's, 3 p.m. here. Like, you start connecting to this past of what you relate as true. And that I find that that's part of what warps what could be available of you having ease with moving, whether it's through time zones or in many other ways. Diana writes, the energy of nine trannies emanates. It is incredible. Looking forward to February. Super. Thank you. And super, wow. The topic has always fascinated me. And I wonder where I'm already being the nine trannies I haven't been willing to acknowledge. And that, I think it's Tricia, that is a beautiful question. And that is one that we will take through the series. Because when you acknowledge what is true for you, there is a lightness. There is a lightness in a space that when you acknowledge what's true for you, no one can take that away from you. So one of the things that we have with Access Consciousness are these incredible tools. And one is the light and the heavy. When something's not true for you, it's heavy. There is a density to it. There's a contraction. Perhaps you feel that in your body. But when something's true, as crazy as it may seem, there is a lightness in the space. And that lightness in the space, if you don't doubt you, you will allow it to be more of your reality. And for whatever it is that you're acknowledging as truth, for it to show up even more. Amazing. Monica, so I remember when you, in one day, were in 3 different countries. Yep. Wow. Many incredible stories for many of us. And I think this, what Tricia just said, if you take anything away from this call, whether you understand it cognitively, just continue to ask yourself, what do I already know about the 9 trannies that I haven't been willing to acknowledge? So that space. Super. Well, I would love to open up. I'm grateful for those of you writing in the chat, but if anybody else has a question or a comment, or would like to know something else about the 9 trannies, please ask. You can open up your mic, I believe, or you can raise your hand, or you can write in the chat. And meanwhile, while you guys are doing that and see if anybody has the courage to do that, I would like to share one other story. And I often share stories because I'm hoping it'll pop something in your world. And we have someone who raised their hand, so I will share that after. So go ahead, Steffi. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, hi. Yes,
Hi.
my name is right. Thank you. So it's 9 trannies seems to be a capacity. It means I can own. And how can I imagine a class, a 9 trannies class? Is it similar to foundation that the participants create the class, or is it clear even before what capacities will be developed? Sorry, my head asks questions.
Thank you. And it might not only be your question, you may be aware of all the questions that are out in the Zoom right now, which may be another capacity of yours. So if you didn't make yourself wrong, it's like, all right. So one, what will this series be like? So it used to be 9 calls, and that's when Gary first invited me. He invited me to do 1 call per tranny. So meaning we will have a full call on each tranny. You know, I tend to kick it off. I'm always asking what tranny that day. And then I know by the time I get to the class. So it's not even like I know day 1 will be this, day 2 call, you know. I really do my best to, as much as I can, to not go into my head about figuring out the order or even what's going to show up in the class. It is each and every person that joins this call that invites the energy, the space, and where we go and how much we can open up together. So every call is different. We will have an oracle. So what does that mean? Someone will be writing the clearings out. So you will also be receiving clearings. So it used to be 9 calls. Now I added a 10th call because I noticed that first call was always more of a general logistics, but also opening up the energy of what was to come. So now we have 10 calls. We spread them out over about maybe 3 months. I travel a lot, so trying to work my schedule with flights and all of that. I do my best to try to make it on every date that we have. Sometimes there's a few changes, but we do have a call roughly about once a week. We may skip a week throughout the month. And what I enjoy about that is that we get to explore that tranny we had the call on, for the next week. Because part of what my target is, if I have one, is for you, each and every one of you, to begin to claim that, to really get that clarity for you. Because when I see that in people, I know no one can take that away from them. They have it, they own it. And this is part of the gift that I've received through the access classes and the facilitation I have received. There's been a couple times where Gary has acknowledged something that I was refusing to see, to claim. And when he has acknowledged something and it has that lightness in space, that exponentializes in my world. So for me, for each and every one of us to have the gift that we be on the planet, our capacities exponentialized, I know there will be more joy. I know that you will have more play. There will be more ease. Doesn't mean easy. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be laid out pretty. But you imagine having total ease with everything that shows up in your world and knowing you can change it and begin to acknowledge these nice capacities to contribute to that. This is part of what just inspires me to continue to facilitate this series. So I hope that's helped, Stevie. Does that give you a clarity? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome. And part of, where we went with what you were saying and the energy you were being is that early on with as I was exploring the access tools and applying them, I had a friend move in with me for a short while she was in transition of locations. And she was always really curious. She's like, Sylvia, what do you do when you wake up? Like, I felt like she was studying me, and it was the cutest thing. I was like, get out of bed. Like, I didn't have, a formula. And then one time she posted a video and she goes, Sylvia, I just tagged you on a video I posted. And I thought, okay, cool. I'll go check it out. And so I started to listen to this video she had shared. And she starts out by saying that she's moved in with me and that her question was, when is Sylvia gonna get real? And I thought, she wanted me to listen to this? Okay, so when is Sylvia gonna get real? And she continued, and she, living with me for some time, she goes, I've been waiting for Sylvia to get real because I bought in that being real is when you go into a problem, you try to figure out, or you're looking at something, that solidity that I talked about earlier. She goes, and Sylvia doesn't do that. So she started to give me a glimpse of how I function because I didn't even notice. So she used an example of, I think someone had messaged me about scheduling a private session, and I was all excited, like, yay. And she goes, Sylvia, why are you celebrating? One, they haven't even paid you. You haven't even had the session. And it's just one session. I'm all, and for me, that was so confusing because I thought, I'm like celebrating all the magic and miracles that open up. That's a possibility. Whether it shows up or not, there is a space that opened up by that person considering it. And so part of the piece that's probably weird and different about me is that I do enjoy celebrating. I mean, the other day or just last night, I was going out to dinner with a friend, and I was running a little late, and there was lots of traffic here in Houston. And there was an incredible, beautiful sunset. And I'm all, well, there's some crazy traffic, but there is an incredible, beautiful sunset. So being in traffic, you get to admire it a little more. So it's like that willingness to receive it all with no point of view, and also asking for that speed of space, that transmigration to get to where I need to get to. And I think I was only 2 minutes late. So it's like, that is something that is different, weird, unreal, however you like to call it. But I'm grateful for this friend that made that video, because she got to acknowledge for herself that she's been making reality and the density of it real, and not the lightness that's available. So how many of you would be willing to begin to function and be and play in the lightness? Not because you're dismissing what's going on. I wasn't dismissing I was in traffic, but I sure allowed myself to receive not only the traffic, I even cut someone off. They were really upset with me. It's like, all right, so I chose that. Okay. And then there was the sunset, right? And then it was like, okay, what other route can I take? What else is available? So when you're willing to be in that lightness and space, there's so much more available for you. And in this series, the 9 trannies will also go over what we call the elementals. You know, if you know of the periodic table, there's elementals in there that we clearly know and have been part of our world. And now there's elementals that are not on that table that may be there soon, that also contribute to you actualizing and having the ease and availability to everything you're asking for. So thank you. Thank you all. And I see one more thing here. I had been asking if I believe in paranormal activity entities. So I keep thinking it must be the way I carry myself that invites others to ask this question. What do you know? How different would we all be willing to be to actually create something totally new on this planet? And with that, years ago, when we were in the question and access of when we got to 10,000 people in consciousness, we'd be able to actualize and ask for something different on the planet. And we're way beyond that. And they're not all in access, just making that clear. But one of those items in that list was the 9 trannies to be actualized on the planet. So every series, I am so grateful because we are a part of having this more on the planet, more accessible to everyone that's joining us live and available around the world, whoever's willing to have it. Super. Any other questions? Awesome. And translators, I know sometimes I can go really, really fast, but I know that when I had started to translate, I had asked Gary Douglas, I was like, what do I do? Like, any tip? I'm about to translate you. And he said, what if you didn't worry about getting it perfect and just follow me energetically? I was like, okay. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but there was a lightness like, I can do that. Because this is also another energy that stops us from having that speed and space of creation and actualization. Is anywhere we're looking for perfection, anywhere we're looking to get it right, everywhere we avoid getting it wrong. And this is why I love the graphic that Michelle created for this class with Speedy Gonzalez, because, you know, it could be considered judgeable and all of that, but it's like, why not have way more fun? And I love it on camera. I can see Daria. She has a red scarf, her white shirt, and she's from Russia and still playing as Speedy. Yes. So, you know, where can we have way more fun with what we be that we haven't claimed on and acknowledged, that if we did, would allow for way more play. So that's one of the invitations I have into speeding into possibilities, whatever it is that you're asking for. And let's play and enjoy way, way more. And I look forward to having many of you on if you choose it. And if not, perhaps this is contribute just a little more to what's available for you if you choose. Go for it, Michelle. I see your hands up.
Hi.
This is Michelle. Ándale, ándale.
Ándale, 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 ándale. So thank you for all this space and bringing this to the whole world. I was so happy for you to acknowledge the speed you are. And with the Speedy, it was awesome. So I wanted to add to the thing that you were explaining about the class, that what people will receive. So also you are going to receive all the recordings, and you will be also in a Telegram group where you could where you are going to play with your other playmates and where you are going to experience how the 9 trainees have been through all the series, because it's like 3 months or so. So that's really awesome. So that's another part of the experience of being on the 9 trainees teleseries. Also, we have made a beautiful web page in which you can go now, 9trainees-teleseries.com. We are working on the translations, but you can go there and pick your favorite price. We have early bird and we have repeat price if you have had our 9 trainees with Sylvia or another facilitator. And Sil, are we going to receive your awesome loops with the clearings?
Yes, it'll be my voice in all the clearings that you receive. And, you know, we do our best to get it out to you as quickly as I can. But as you know, we have to get it in English first and then move it out to you. Have the translators do their amazing work. It is going to be not all the clearings, but maybe the top 8 to 10 clearings that are selected. So it's always great to have that, and I will do the audio recording. Yes.
Yeah, because can I tell something? Because I love 9 trainees, so I know the energy of 9 trainees in my life, and I use these audio loops, the one of transmigration and transmigration and translocation for traveling through airports. So when I use those loops, well, I'm the energy, but when I use those loops, everything works for me. But it's amazing to have those loops as well after doing all the telecalls. I mean, after you take the class and having all the loops, they are like a treasure for me. So
thank you for sharing. And I gotta say, Michelle did not have this space on her first 9 Trannies series. She's always like in doubt and question and looking for something right. So this space that you be now with the 9 Trannies, Michelle, is so different. And I just want to thank you for choosing and acknowledging that and being a part of this creation. Thank you. I also can now see Monica, who's also been part of several 9 Trannies, and she's in her white shirt with her red scarf. I love you guys. That's so cool. So we're happy to have her contributing on the back end with this creation as well. Anything you want to say about the 9 Trannies, Monica?
Sorry. I was looking for a little part of the Speedy Gonzalez cartoon in the YouTube, and I found and was amazing for me to know when I saw you are so Speedy Gonzalez. So that is my contribution to this class, because I know that you are not trainees, all of them. You go fast, you great in now this one. No, another the second to choose. Okay, this is the next choice. When I was part of your team, for me, non-trainees was the best example for me when you were non-trainees, when you choose that and share with your team. So thank you for that. Thank you for that, because you show us in each moment how to be non-trainees. But for me, you are the best in the transsexualist training.
Oh.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you for showing me that. Thank you for finally, thank you for show us what is non-trainees when you choose to be that.
Amazing. Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much. And I want to say, you know, part of, and I'm so grateful for everything you said. And I also want to just say, there are moments where I'm not choosing that, you know, and having the access consciousness tools allows me to continue to be in the question, to explore, what did I choose? Not from the wrongness. So one great example recently is I got a speeding ticket, and and I was with one of my sisters, and we were driving here in Houston, a place that I go very frequently. And I ended up getting a speeding ticket, and there was such this density with that whole experience. And, you know, I ended up speeding through a school zone, and, you know, the cop was like, you know, we could take you to jail. And so it was all this different energies, but it was so heavy. There was just, and finally I asked a question about that, and someone said, but Sylvia, you speed all the time and you haven't gotten a ticket. And I thought, okay, that's true. Now, one of the things I started to look at was the energy of the person with me in the car, my sister. So when are you refusing to have everything you know and be because of the people around you? And also not being willing to be aware of their reality or where they are. So, you know, there's times when you're with people and they go into panic because of what they think is going to happen. If you don't allow yourself to be aware of that and not willing to be aware of their point of view, and I remember the moment, and this is where it's the acknowledgement, okay, what was I aware of right before that happened? And as I rode into a certain area and I said it out loud, I'm like, oh, this is where I got pulled over the other time, but I didn't get a ticket, right? But I said that out loud. And I wonder, in that moment, I thought it was the memory of being pulled over, but that was the moment I was aware of my sister and her point of view. You're in the time, you know, speed limit that you're exceeding. So I didn't continue to go into question. If I would have allowed myself to be aware of that, I would have slowed down. So this is where you get to be willingness to be aware of everybody that's around you, not that they determine what you choose, but you're aware of it, you know. So, but it's one of those choices that continues to give to me even more and more awareness. I had a beautiful example of riding a horse out in Costa Rica, and one of my beautiful friends, Maya, was in front of me. I had chosen to do something different. My horse always happens to go in the front. I don't know why. It's a joke because I like to be up in the front. So I thought, I'm going to try something different. I went in the back and I was just exploring this space and the energy. And then I was like, all right, horse, let's go to the front. And my horse didn't move. It stayed. Let's go. And it's energetically, when you ride a horse, it perceives you, right? So I was like, what's going on? We're not moving. And my tendency when I have that is like, all right, it doesn't matter. It's not important, right? How many of you have that in your life with creations? Oh, no big deal. Forget it. You just go with the flow. Well, that's not choice. And so I'm all, no, I would like to go to the front. So what's going on? And then I perceived my friend Maya. Maya, I'm all like, you have such a potent pull of the pace that you want your horse to go at, that my horse is picking that up. And she just giggled, he, he. And I loved it because she acknowledged it. I acknowledged it. And then I had choice. Okay, don't want to stay back here. No. So it's like I let my horse know. And I had to be willing to be a bigger energy and have a bigger demand of what I was asking for. And once I allowed myself to have that, my horse moved. So that's one of the greatest gifts. One incredible gift of riding a horse is that it will let you know where you're functioning from. So once I had to be willing to be bigger. So how many of you keep yourself small, your awareness, your energy, so that everybody else can have what they would like to have? And I love it, Tricia. I see you stretching. So, and it's not about being mean, and it's not about fighting anyone, but it is the willingness to be the dominant energy and have that demand and have your reality. So for me, it's like, okay, if we had that, what if no one could stop you? Not their judgment, not their point of view. And if you're willing to have that, what would you choose just for the fun of it? I didn't say move. I didn't kick the horse. I didn't, have to do any of that. It was just like, what would I like? And what do I have to be willing to be to have that? Because if something you're asking for isn't showing up, ask yourself, what are you not willing to be? I can be aggressive energetically, and my presence can be annoying. But how many of you are refusing to be annoying and aggressive? So everything that is and everything that brings up, but you're just trying to create it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pack, all 9 shorts, boys, florets, and beyonds. Awesome. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I think we're going to wrap up the call. Again, I am grateful. You all showed up today, the space of you, the question of you. And I hope that you join us for this incredible series. It's so different than the others, and I'm grateful for that. And I wonder, by you choosing it, what else and how much greater space and possibilities can we open up together? Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, team. And I will see some of you in Mexico tomorrow. No, tonight. See? Ciao, everyone. Have a beautiful day. And I do hope you have way more of you and that speed of into possibilities than you thought was available. Ciao. Ciao, ciao.